I'm in my 10th year as a teacher and my 6th year teaching 6th grade science at Chavez Prep in Columbia Heights. I'm also a founding member of the DC Alliance of Charter Teachers and Staff, Local 1927, which is the only charter school union local in the district. Not for long, but for now, it's the only one. I'll be speaking primarily as sort of prep, and DC acts as a good kind of case study in a lot of the things Rachel's talking about in particular. That's where most of my relevant experience is. That's kind of what I'll be discussing. I was first really kind of struck by the importance of transparency in charter schools and the role that unions could potentially play in it when I recently went to the National Charter School Conference. And I met very few teachers and very few principals, but a lot of consultants. And that really kind of drove home for me that in a lot of ways our schools are not being are being run by for-profit companies. There's a lot of people in this sort of mini charter economy making a lot of money on the backs of our kids, and without any kind of accountability or oversight, and mainly by convincing charter authorizers that they have some sort of secret magic password to unlocking student success. And when I say a lot of money, I'm talking about like a lot of money. My school board serves roughly 1,100 kids. My school board spends $140,000 a month, just short of that, on 10 Square. That money goes to between 10 and 12 people. They're constantly coming and going, so the number changes. Many of those people are part-time. That works out to, I worked out the numbers this morning, per kid, per kid per year, it's $1,680 per kid per year. And as an educator, it just keeps me up at night thinking what else we could do with that money. Especially considering that we don't even know what we're getting for that money now. We don't know what 10 Square does. They don't run professional development, they don't coach, they don't write curriculum. We made really great gains on the park last year. We were one of, I think, 11 or 12 schools in the district that doubled the citywide average growth in both ELA and math last year. But there's a lot of other things that can be potentially attributed to. We brought in a new assessment system with the intention of making our assessments more park-like. And when I say we, I mean teachers did that. That wasn't with principal help or 10 Square help or anybody else's help. That was a program that teachers spearheaded and teachers maintained. We had less turnover than usual last year, so we had fewer new teachers, and we also had the union, which I think can't be discounted as a factor in those improved student gains. Excuse me. And it's not even just 10 Square. There's a lot of organizations like 10 Square that kind of function in similar ways, and without any accountability, and as taxpayers and educators, we deserve to know where that money is going and what we're getting for it. There's lots of ways to find out where that money is going. Open board meetings would be a really easy way to find out where that money is going. Everybody in DC seems too afraid or whatever to do that. So the only way we really have left is supporting staff unions. Specifically because unions are legally entitled to a lot of information that isn't typically released to the public, which is how we found out about a lot of our 10 Square funding and spending and several other things. We use that data because when we ask for kind of basic things, when we ask for classroom materials, caseload caps for special ed and ELL teachers and social workers, real professional development, when we ask for things like fair salary packages, and we're told the school can't afford it, we know that's not true. We know the school can afford it, and we know the money's there. We just know it's being tied up in consulting services. Again, many of whom are part-time and aren't in our school and don't work with our kids or our teachers. That was a huge problem for us. And if your school, a school you work with or for or represent, is afraid of unions or afraid of open board meetings, there's a problem like that in your school as well. There's something that is being hidden. There's something they don't want you to know. Otherwise, there'd be nothing there to hide. So in order to get that, in order to get that information. Like I said, unions are a really good first step, but it's a really, really difficult step. So every charter school employee in the district who does not work at Chavez Prep is an at-will employee, as you guys know, I'm sure. And if you're thinking that, no, there's no way a school would fire a good teacher without cause, and the teachers giggle, because I ask any charter school teacher in the district, and everybody knows somebody. Everybody has a story to tell about that. I mean, look at what happened at Achievement Prep in the spring. It happens everywhere and very commonly. So I say that to say that organizing is dangerous, and I don't use that word lightly. So when teachers are organizing and forming unions in order to gain more transparency and more accountability, they need help. They need help from policymakers and decision makers and allies. It's not something that can be done in isolation. I'm going to kind of read directly from my comments because I get a little heated at this point. So when we organized, our board chose to force us to a vote. They could have just said, cool, let's get to work, and they didn't. They chose to force us to a vote. In that time, we had to sit and listen to our board members, who many of us had never even seen before, explain all the reasons why our voices didn't matter, why we should just trust 10 Square, trust these mercenaries that have been brought in, and we need to trust them instead of our sister and brother educators that we've known for years. We were forced to read letters and press releases and really obnoxious, sycophantic blog posts about how we weren't putting our kids first, despite the fact that we put in far more hours with students and families than anyone else in our system does, while getting paid far less than our sister and brother educators in DCPS do. We were told over and over, every charter school educator, I'm sure every DCPS educator has heard this a million times, that we need to do what's best for kids. And that us raising our voice together was not doing what's best for kids. We still want our vote. We want our vote with a 94% majority. 94% of our staff voted yes, even after all that. The groups coming after us are going to win their votes too. You have a choice to make when that happens as educators or educator adjacent people. You can choose to see that as a huge opportunity that you should be grateful for, to say, man, it is really, really cool that my school, that the educators and staff members at my school are willing to put their careers and their livelihoods on the line together to make their school work better. And take that for like the blessing and the gift that it is, and not waste time and just say, cool, we're going to get to work and we're going to build a better school together. That's one option. Second option is you can do what consultants and charter boards, PCSB, wants you to do, and you can just allow the status quo. You can allow decision makers to kind of stay in the shadows, say like, look at these jerks putting their livelihoods on the line, they don't know what's best for kids. That's an option you can choose as well. Obviously we're hoping you choose to join those educators. I just think about like the DC charter machine is extremely well organized and extremely unified in its opposition to teacher voice and its opposition to teacher unions, its opposition to open board meetings and things like that, transparency in general. I just imagine like what if teachers and students and families and policymakers and lawmakers, elected officials, neighborhoods, churches, if we were all just as unified in our support of teacher voice and our support of teacher unions and teachers organizations, how powerful that could be and the kinds of things we could accomplish together. So in the coming months and years, as more and more charters in DC organize and form unions, we're asking you to join them. We're asking for your help. As they demand accountability and transparency, it's a dangerous thing for them to do. We need to recognize how dangerous it is for them, and we need to see that, like I said, as just a tremendous opportunity, because that's ultimately what it really, really is. If you were all really in it for kids, and we're really in it for families, and we're really in it to build schools together, that's the only realistic option we have. That's all I have.
can I just say one quick thing? Because I think this is, when Christian was talking, so I think this is helpful, maybe something